You've been randomly selected. This happened about 3 years ago while going through an airport in the US. I walked through the metal detector, something must have beeped and they needed to pat me down. After a thorough pat down, I put my shoes on and started to walk over to grab my bag. A TSA agent stops me and says, "You've been randomly selected, please step into the body scanner." I was polite, but said that I really didn't want to get into the body scanner, and asked if there was another way. The agent said that I could get a pat down. I said, "Well, I just got a pat down, so." They angrily told me to pick an option. So, I took 2 steps backwards, to the woman who had patted me down 30 seconds ago and spread M. Again. While she was patting me down, I asked her if she found anything new. She stared daggers at me but let me go. Now to the comments. TSA pulled me aside the other day and asked me what some item in my bag was that was circled on the X-ray. I can't read those dang things, so I answered I don't know. Maybe makeup. Which was apparently the worst answer because then it became them accusing me. I didn't know what was in my bag. The item in question was a bottle of a spice blend I purchased. Honestly, how the duck are you supposed to be able to look at a blurry image of an X-ray, and immediately tell them what the item in question is? I was randomly selected for an enhanced pat-down at a Canadian airport. This wasn't one of the big large cosmopolitan airports, it was in the Northwest Territories. I put my bag through the X-ray and stepped through the scanner. Nothing beeps or goes off. I get informed that I have been randomly selected for an enhanced screening. I look around me and see that I'm the only one currently going through security at that time. Got randomly selected in Calgary. I wasn't flagged by any sort of machine. The person just told me that I was. Looked around and I was literally the only person in the room. Random. I was flying Vancouver, Calgary, Tokyo. Weird, I know, but cheap. I had gone through security in Vancouver, but apparently when you switch domestic to international you need to go through again. So, I left the terminal and got cheap food outside. Probably set off some alarm bells by doing that. Plus, I think he was training someone. It wasn't the worst. The guy and his trainee were polite and respectful and I was in and out in maybe a minute. Dude still managed to lose my boarding pass in the maybe 45 seconds it was out of my hands. Maybe it's just me, but I never let go of neither my passport nor my boarding pass, even though the metal detector never had any issue. I fly for business. I've been randomly selected a few times and it's never been a big deal, except one time. I have prec heck, so I go through a metal detector. It beeps for the randomly selected, so I go through the body scanner. It's clean. I go to get my backpack, and it's been pulled for additional screening. After that, the TSA tells me I need to be patted down because some swab test on my hands failed. So, at this point I'm angry, and wait for it to be mid-pat down, right around the waist, and just let out the littlest of moans. The TSA guy looked like he'd been hit with a brick. I laughed. Love this. But that swab test is the reason I don't go to the range less than 2 days before a flight. Okay, so what happens if they detect some trace amounts on you? Do they give you 3 more additional pat-downs? I don't remember where I read it, but I'll always remember the stealth boner TSA story. Basically, the guy got it up and tucked it underneath the rubber band on the leg of his underwear. In comes the TSA guy and his pat down, finds suspicious hidden bump, asks what it is. Well, it's a penis. Sir, why do you have an erection at a security checkpoint? I just love a man in uniform and you grab me so firmly yet so gently. I don't know how many shades of red a single person can turn at the same time, but this was always my favorite retaliation for passengers always getting their balls fondled. Prime example of not asking the questions you don't want to hear the answer to. They angrily told me to pick an option. I feel like this is the TSA version of unexpected item in bagging area, please scan or remove item from bagging area. For my second tour to Iraq, we flew on a chartered flight. We had a layover in Maine to change planes. For some reason we had to go through security to get to the other section of the airport. And we had to go through the detectors. Regulations or something. The thing is, it was a company of infantry marines. We all had our personal weapons. So I go through the detector and sure as shit. Beep beep. The poor TSA guy starts running a detector wand up and down me, while I'm holding an M249 machine gun. I said looking for a knife. OP replied. Ha ha ha, love it. Pro tip for guys. Don't wear underwear. I constantly randomly selected, so I've started wearing gym shorts when I fly. When they pay me down, I give myself a little hip shake and make eye contact with them as they touch me. The best part is most of these guys are glorified mall cops, so watching Mr. Macho cringe is one of the best feelings. I have no shame, so this sounds like a great plan next time I fly. If I'm gonna get fondled, might as well make it awkward for everyone. It's totally awkward. I was flying out of Omaha, Nebraska last year and did this. The guy touched it as we made eye contact. I smiled. He looked mortified, like he was going to go home and hang himself. Note: you can tell if you are randomly selected before you even go through security if there's an SSSS on your boarding pass, whether it's physical or on your phone. There is also sometimes a floating screener. Their entire job is to pick a type of search from a list, and just grab the next person to come through the line and perform that screening on them. There are also behavioral assessment officers that roam the airport, and will point someone out to the officer for additional screening. I worked TSA 2007-09 at Reagan National Airport, DCA. Edit: I got an alert with a question, but I'm not seeing it. The question was, what happens when you don't go along with additional/random screening? The answer is, you get escorted off the checkpoint, voluntarily, by a TSA officer, or involuntarily, by law enforcement. Once you enter the checkpoint, you have consented to be searched. That consent doesn't end until you leave the checkpoint, even on the aircraft. I've had to do random screenings at the gate as people were boarding. I was shitty pants wasty face drunk one time and I got the full go through with a team of my buddies. My guess is they thought I was coping with doing something bad based on the behavioral stuff. I just hadn't eaten or slept and went round for round with guys who had. We did everything but going in the back room. Every time my partner flies, he gets randomly selected, every single time. Whenever I fly with him, we both get selected. Whenever I fly by myself, I never get selected. Definitely not a race thing, we're both so white we're basically transparent. I guess to TSA, he just looks like someone who has a condom of cocaine shoved up his ass. His name is the likely cause. Could match someone in a list. Happened to my brother, which is why he got that pre-clearance thing. They've been pretty butthurt lately because they were trying to crack down on flight crew members and all the unions put them back in their place. I'm sorry they're taking it out on you, the passengers, instead. Wait, what's going on? The TSA tried to go all Gestapo. I peaked in high school power trip on, you know, the captain and co-pilot of the plane. Think about it. I have been randomly selected every time I have flown. It's bullshit. Just stop being non-white. Michael did it, and he'd all the way to heaven. I'm whiter than Wonder Bread. Took some Tajin through the airport on a domestic flight. They said I either had to toss it or they had to do a gunpowder check on it. Made them do the check because I wanted my Tajin for my mangoes on the plane. Guy looked annoyed having to bust out the kit and test it. Good. Assert your rights within their rules. They're banking on it being as cheap as possible to run the TSA. If everyone starts opting out and requiring individual service from TSA agents, the program will bankrupt itself as they try to keep up.